Welcome to the Primo's Musings podcast.
Good morning. We're down to week number 5 of the NFL that just completed yesterday with Kansas City Chiefs completely dominating the Saints at home. This Kansas City Chiefs continue to impress with trick plays and very solid play by Mahomes and their defensive front. Their offensive line is one of the best in the NFL that gives Mahomes a lot of good protection. With Mahomes losing a lot of skill players like Pacheco and Rashi Rice, other players do step up. Kelsey had a monster game. They still use Xavier Worthy. Kareem Hunt has rejuvenated his career. He started there with the Chiefs, went to Cleveland, but he looks much better, as Troy Aikman did mention during his broadcast yesterday. And with that, the Chiefs go to 5-0. The only other team which is 5-0 right now is the Minnesota Vikings, which was in London. That was the first game on tap this past Sunday against the New York Jets. The Sam Darnold-led Vikings jumped to a very quick 17-0 start, but the Jets came back. Aaron Rodgers was plagued by a couple of pretty bad interceptions, and Sam Darnold and the Vikings offense sputtered in the third quarter as the Jets were making a comeback, but they held on with Gilmore, who made a game-saving interception of Aaron Rodgers to seal the deal for Minnesota. Minnesota now goes to 5-0. Kansas City is 5-0. So these are the only two undefeated teams left in the NFL. As for the other marquee games that I wanted to quickly chat about, let's talk about the Cowboys, who traveled all the way to the Steelers and came up with a very gritty 20-17 win. It was not a pretty game by any stretch of imagination. Prescott threw for 2 picks, but managed to throw a lot of yards. They got some good production on the running game, more than 100 yards. And then he spread the ball around to not just to CeeDee Lamb, but to other players, Tolbert and Ferguson, that kept Dallas's offense in rhythm. And Steelers, while they did have Justin Fields played a very subdued game. He threw for 2 touchdowns, but not many for yards, and their running game definitely did not live up to the expectation. But while the defense did come up with some big turnovers, they could not really capitalize. The other game which was of notable was the Ravens slowly but surely had to eke out a win with Bengals missing field goals at the end. And Ravens go on the road to the Bengals. The Bengals are now 1-4, pretty much the same record as a lot of the bottom feeders of the NFL. With that, the Ravens seem to have rightened the ship a little bit. I think Lamar is playing as well as he can, and that really bodes well for a good competition in the NFL. He threw for 4 touchdowns. He was very impressive. Derrick Henry continues to dominate the NFL. He's been a great pickup for the Ravens. And watch out. When they start getting better, with Henry, who can lift the load of Lamar, Lamar can run as well. And Lamar being able to throw for 300 plus yards, this bodes well as a good competition for the Chiefs in the AFC. As for the other good surprises in the NFL, I did want to touch about the Texans came up with a huge win against the Bills, but the big story there is the concussion for Josh Allen. He was not taken off the field. He was 9 for 30, 1 touchdown, but he was all over the place. He wasn't really sharp. CJ Stroud uh, threw for 300 plus yards, but did have a pick. But with Diggs and Collins and Tank Dell and the good um, offensive weapons that CJ has, they were able to eke out the victory with Texans now sitting at 4-1 as well. Uh, the other one is that we did have to talk about was the Commanders and Browns. Commanders, Jaden Daniels continues to impress. He They demolished uh, Cleveland. Cleveland should be having that buyer's remorse with Deshaun Watson having another poor performance, and Cleveland must be thinking all the money that they spent on Deshaun. Right now, they should be thinking about their draft pick for next year as well. They go to 1-4, and Commander jumped to 4-1. A very surprising 4-1. Daniels didn't have a great game. I mean, he did have a pick, but um, he continues to throw the ball, rush the ball for over 80 yards, and with Austin Eckler and the team, and McLaurin, who's actually having a very good breakout year as well. Commanders continue to surprise the NFL. The Commanders seems to be the team like the Houston Texans when C.J. Stroud took over as a quarterback for the Houston Texans last year. That bodes very well for that. And then as far as the other rookie quarterbacks that we did talk about, Bo Nix and Caleb Williams, both seem to be having a pretty decent. The last two games, they've actually performed really well. And that's pretty much when you look at Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, and Cal Williams, all three of them have played much better over the last 2 to 3 games, while the Patriots continue to keep Drake May on the bench, starting Jacoby Brissett. A lot of um, folks in the New England area looking for Drake May, but I can see why he's still sitting. The offensive line is putrid for the Patriots, and Drake May probably should sit for maybe another game or so before he can take over, because at this time, the time is running out for the Patriots. I mean, they are the worst team in the NFL, and what a fall from the glory days of Tom Brady. Um, the other games that I did want to quickly touch upon was the Jaguars coming up with a big win as well. So with this, when you look at that, the AFC is, you got the Chiefs, which is the cream of the crop, obviously in the NFL. You got the Texans. The Ravens are slowly coming into a good thing. The Broncos are surprising 3-2 as well. The Steelers, they won 3 in a row, but now they've lost the last two. So it remains to be seen which team shows up. So there's no real clear-cut favorite for the Chiefs in the AFC other than the Ravens at this point, and maybe the Bills if they can set right their offense. As far as the NFC is concerned, you got the Vikings at 5-0, but the Commanders at 4-1 lead the division, and they're certainly the surprise team of the NFL. And while the NFC South continues to be a revolving door, with the Falcons right now holding a slight edge, and the Seahawks again on the NFC West, they're holding a slight edge as well. I mean, they've lost 2 games as well. Um, and that's wide open as well, with the Cardinals and 49ers just slightly behind the Seahawks. So that's going to come down to a crapshoot at the end. So with that, we wrap up the Week 5 of the NFL. We got some big games in Week 6 in the NFL, so we will be doing a quick recap. We got the 49ers Seahawks as the main marquee matchup for the also for the division, and it's on Thursday. And then we have a lot of very exciting games that I'll get down to once we get closer to the game times. With that, we wrap up the Week 5 wrap up of the NFL. Thank you again for listening, and have a good rest of the day.
Thank you for listening. Primo will be back soon.